Hi book lovers, welcome to a brand new video showing you the reading journal spreads I did in June and July. So you'll get 2 months in one video. Starting with my June intro page that you can see me set up at the end of my May video. I'm very happy with it. I love the color palette I picked and the images. The first thing that happened in June was the new romantic suspense series by Nikki James came out, very much anticipated. It's a spin-off to her Valor and Doyle series, which I haven't done spreads for yet, but I will, maybe in next year's journal. I started with listening to a short story that came out a while back that introduces the two main characters. I usually don't listen to those, but the moment I hit play on book 1, the first line made it immediately clear to me that I needed to listen to the short story first, because when a book begins like this, you want to know what happened, if you know what I mean. So I had to pause and head over to Nikki's webpage and download it. So Invisible Scars is the 3-hour short story that introduces the characters, and Skeletons in the Closet is book 1. Talus, a little spunky ray of sunshine, works in the archive of Valor and Doyle's police department in Toronto, and DM is a former police officer, now grouchy private detective that can't get along with anyone and can barely hold a conversation. I love Nick J. Russo's narration of him. He makes DM sound like this old-timey detective that gave me Sin City vibes. I love the two main characters, both separate and together. They both have a lot of baggage that makes them feel very real. Talus teams up with DM to solve one of his private cases, pretty much against DM's will, but Talus is such a force of nature that DM barely knew what hit him. Great start to a new series, I can't wait for more. That was, unfortunately, the high point of my June reads. I listened to a bunch of new-to-me books that turned out to be kind of underwhelming. Love, Hate and Clickbait by Liz Bowery. It promised red, white and royal blue vibes being set around the campaign of a female presidential candidate. Two opposite attract guys have to fake date in order to promote the campaign, and I just didn't feel it, sorry. I did finish it. I can see why some people like it, but to me it fell a bit flat. I gave it 3 stars because it wasn't bad, it was well written, but it just wasn't for me. Next, a new N.R. Walker standalone novel I was really looking forward to, an Australian historical Man from Snowy River retelling, The Men from Echo Creek. I love N.R. Walker, and she has historically written some of my very favorite stories and characters. But lately, I haven't been able to feel the same amount of enthusiasm for her newer novels as I did her older ones, like Galaxies and Oceans, Red Dirt Heart, Yanni's Story on Davies Row. She has some truly great books to her name, and I'm forever waiting for her to write another one as great as Galaxies and Oceans, and I am still waiting. I do have a very special little project going on with Galaxies and Oceans that I might show you soon, so stay tuned for that in a future video. Anyway, The Men from Echo Creek. Lovely scenery and setting, exciting time period, Aussie cowboys, wild horses. It has all the makings of being a great story, and I know a lot of people love the book, so you might too. For me, it was a solid 3 stars. Next, another book I've had on my TBR for a long time, To Catch a Firefly by Emmy Sanders. This book is recommended a lot in MM's romance readers circles, so it's a very hyped read. Maybe that's why I felt a bit let down by it. I was waiting for it to be as incredible and emotional and lovely as promised, and it just never happened. It's a childhood friends to lovers story with a neurodiverse main character. It had 2 really great narrators, Blake Lockhart and Liam DeCosimo. They did an excellent job with it. Still kind of anticlimactic after being so hyped. I gave it 3.5 stars. At this point, I was desperate to lose myself in a really good book, so I had to go back to my already read books and pull out the big guns. Exposed by H.L. Day is all the things I love in a book. It's post-apocalyptic, dystopian, exciting, hot. It's about a city mouse office worker, Tate, who is wrongly accused of industrial espionage. And in this dystopian society, all crimes mean an immediate death sentence. X, our other main character, is the opposite. He's a sociopathic gutter rat from the slums whose main business is violence. He has 2 interests, knives and Tate, who he has been stalking for half their lives. But Tate is completely unaware of this, although he jokes about having a guardian angel because things seem to happen around him whenever he's in trouble. And this is, of course, X. I love the setting and the dystopian world building as these 2 go on the run from the DTP, the Defenders of the Peace, who are a kind of military police force. I love both characters, they are great together. 5 stars, and my favorite read of June, but since it's a reread, it doesn't qualify for my favorite book of the month since I only put new books on it. Then another very hyped read, Always by Lauren Lee. I liked this one better than the letdowns earlier in the month. It's a college romance, brother's best friend, narrated by Liam DeCosimo, and features a lot of stargazing, which is lovely. It came out in 2022 and is supposed to be the first book in a series, but we have yet to see more books from this author. So far, this is the only one. I hope she will write more because I look forward to getting the stories about the rest of the characters in this universe. It was cozy, cute characters, a bit of drama, and a 4-star read for me. Then I discovered Only James's Endangered Species had made it onto Storytel, which is great. Only James is the author of the Necessary Evil series, which I have done 7 videos about. Endangered Species is the first book in the Time Served series, and it is set in prison. Not my favorite setting. I usually find the prison setting a bit unnerving, but this is Only James. She did a great job with it. It's, of course, completely unrealistic, which probably helped me like the setting more. It's about 2 stepbrothers who are reunited as cellmates when the younger brother joins the older one, who has been in prison for nearly 20 years for killing his dad, which he of course did not do. There is a huge conspiracy at the heart of this story. It's related to her Elite Protections series, which is related to her Necessary Evils series. So it's all set in the same universe, and we get to see a lot of old characters, which is always fun. It's not going to win any Nobel Prizes, but it's an entertaining and exciting hot read, just like her other books. I got exactly what I was anticipating, no more, no less, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Next is my July cover page. This gorgeous picture of an old greenhouse is actually taken by my brother Erik. When I saw it, I knew I had to feature it in one of my monthly pages, so I constructed the spread around it with this old, overgrown feel. My first book in July is Whispers in the Dark, a collaboration between Lily Mayne, the author of the Monstrous series, which I adore, and Nicole Knight, who wrote the Fire and Brimstone Scrolls series, which I'm conflicted about and haven't made it through more than 2 books yet. This is a monster under the bed romance, which is an amazing concept. I love the world building and Nor the monster. He was so sweet. I want one. The book is about Cody, who lives a pretty miserable life as nurse/slave to his awful stepdad and even more awful stepbrother. His only comfort is playing an online game called Black Oasis, and all his friends are online. And he has a monster under his bed that he starts talking to, and eventually the monster talks back. They bond, and Nor takes him to visit his own world, which looks exactly like the Black Oasis world in Cody's online game. Imagine that. How could that be? ... It's obvious that this book is written by 2 people, and as such, I loved some parts of it. The monster parts, which reminded me about Monstrous, and the miserable home parts that reminded me of the Fire and Brimstone Scrolls. I don't know which author wrote which parts, but it feels kind of obvious to me that I enjoyed Lily Mayne's contribution and Nicole Knight's not as much. Cody's family just feels so over the top evil and awful. And instead of feeling all out sorry for Cody, I just didn't understand him and why he put up with all this crap and just didn't leave. One of my favorite tropes is usually this one, where an abused character finds a big strong guy to protect him, but this was just too much, and in this fantasy story about monsters and parallel worlds, his situation was the part that felt most unrealistic to me. But as I said, I love the other parts of the story. It's my top read of July, and I'm looking forward to reading more books in the Black Oasis series. This beautiful piece of fan art is by Virginie Méchant, and it's everything. When reading monster romance, it can be hard to picture the actual monsters, but I think she nailed Nor and just the feel of the book in general. She has tons of great fan art. I'll link her Instagram in the video description so you can check it out. Next, we have Alexis Hall, Pansy's, the final book in the Spires series. It's another 3.5 stars for me. It has great side characters and is very witty and well written, like all of Alexis Hall's books. But I did find it a bit slow, and I would have liked even more appearances by the side characters. It's narrated by Cornell Collins, one of my favorite British narrators, who brings out all the funny scenes very well, because the story did have a few of those. I love being able to use all my pretty flower stickers and pastel washi because it fits the story and the setting, which is a flower shop. Then I powered through the whole 8-book Mytho Investigations series by T.J. Nichols, a new-to-me author. Usually series like this tend to get boring and repetitive after a while, and I lose interest. But this actually had me hooked and eager to get on with the next book each time one ended. Set in present-day San Francisco, where mythical creatures exist alongside humans, when particle acceleration experiments in the Hadron Collider have caused the mythic parallel world to crash into ours, with their infrastructure, environment, and creatures appearing unable to return to their world. So everyone has to learn to exist together. It's an obvious metaphor for our present-day refugee crisis. The series follows the same couple through the first 7 books, while the 8th is a spin-off about 2 side characters. Jordan is a human police officer who reluctantly ends up stuck solving cases with mytho creatures involved, and he regularly bumps into the mytho liaison Edra, who is a dragon shifter. We get a new case each book that these two cooperate on as their relationship evolves throughout the series, but there's also a main story that spans all 8 novels, and even though each book doesn't exactly end on a right-out cliffhanger, the story continues in the next book. I love the world building and all the different creatures. Vampires, werewolves, satyrs, elves, dragons, nymphs, mermaids, who are a real pain, by the way. No cute Ariel little mermaids here. Some are wild creatures whose way of life and culture and nature just can't be integrated with human custom and law. So everyone just needs to find the best way of coexisting despite this. Like, you can't arrest a great white shark for eating a swimmer or orcas for attacking a boat. So what do you do when a mermaid does the same? Because this behavior is part of their nature, just like sharks and orcas. Also, should elves be required to get gun permits in order to carry bows? They are part of elvish culture, but they are also long-range assault weapons. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is the sort of question this series raises, and I'm so here for it. I found it both funny and thought-provoking. 4 stars for this whole series. I did one spread for all 8 books because it all feels like a continuous story split into 8 books. Next, my last book spread is a book I am really conflicted about. Hell Followed With Us by trans author Andrew Joseph White, a young adult novel I read back in June. But I had to wait until I was able to put it in my journal, and I wasn't sure if I would at all. I felt like I immediately had to purge this novel from my mind and my body after finishing it. I can't believe it's YA because I would have been traumatized if I was reading this at 16. It traumatized me now and I'm 45. I am conflicted, and I very intentionally did not give it a rating because I just wouldn't begin to know how to rate it. In the end, I decided to feature it in my journal and in this video because I do feel I have things to say about it. The book has a number of very clear trigger warnings at the beginning, even the audio, which I shrugged at because I usually don't heed trigger warnings because I'm a tough gal, I thought. So if I'm going to say one thing about this book, it's beware the content warnings. They are for real. Anyway, the premise of this book is amazing. It's an after the plague post-apocalyptic story with a trans main character, Benji, who escapes the fundamentalist cult who orchestrated this whole plague, which is designed to turn its victims into angels. And not the pretty kind, but the biblically accurate version of angels. Google that and you'll see. And it is disgusting. I vomited after listening. No exaggeration. I literally mean I vomited because it was so gory and disturbing. Most people have died from the transformation, and those who don't are turned into monsters called graces by the cult because they are angels. Benji, the main character, is infected with a new strain that is turning him into a bioweapon called Seraph, which is going to give the cult world dominion and control over all others. He escapes and finds refuge in the remains of an LGBTQ+ youth shelter inhabited by a group of queer teens. Here's the part that I liked. These kids are awesome, and it's as diverse a cast as anyone could ask for. My favorite is this lesbian Muslim trans girl in a pink hijab who acts as their doctor with her medical textbook in hand. She was awesome. So Benji, the main character, goes through this transformation that's turning him into something else. And I think it may be an allegory for feeling like you are trapped in the wrong body, or for transitioning. I'm so here for the concept, but the actual execution was just too explicitly gory for me. I don't know how to rate it, so I won't. I don't recommend this book if you plan on eating, like ever. As for who I would recommend it for, maybe if you want to go vegan and need a push to stick to a vegan diet. Now I am going to set up my August cover page. As usual, I'm starting with one of my trusted Oscar Wilde letters, soaked in coffee to give it this vintage feel. Now I am going to add the images I picked for August. I found this beautiful library image that also has a summer feel as it brings some greenery into the dark library interior. Then I'm continuing the green theme with some more images in the same style. They are all from Pinterest, where I get most of my images. This is a rub-on sticker I got from Tid för Mera, which is my favorite Swedish shop for journaling supplies. I don't think they ship internationally, unfortunately, but I'll link the product in the description and you may be able to Google and find something closer to where you are. And to finish it off, some washi tape. So that's my August setup with an Oscar Wilde quote and a sort of late summer vibe. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.